Hello and welcome back to the Academy of the Magical Art. This is part 6 of our series, Signs of the Zodiac, where we will discuss the sign of Virgo, who is the ruler of the 6th zodiac house. The Sun transits Virgo from August 22nd to September 22nd. Her element is Earth, quality is mutable. Virgo's ruler is Mercury and Chiron. Her detriment is Jupiter and Neptune. She is exalted in Mercury and Pluto, and she falls in Venus. Most astrologers will usually describe the traits of a Virgo as being analytical and kind, generally very practical and very logical and hardworking. They might be a little bit prone to worrying and have a tendency to be a little bit of shy as well. They are known for being modest, but very faithful. They will obviously have a way with words, since Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury rules communication. So anything with communication, logic, intelligence, acquiring knowledge will be attributed to a Virgo. They are generally known for their intellect and will have a taste for things such as music, art, literature, science, mathematics, and things of that nature. As with all zodiac signs, the constellation Virgo will have a couple of different origin stories depending on where you look. However, most will concur that Virgo originates from the story of Astrea, whose origin is within Greek religion. She was the virgin goddess of innocence and purity, and is generally also associated with the goddess of justice. She is not to be confused with another Greek goddess, who is the goddess of the stars. Their names are very similar, so just kind of watch for that. This particular goddess's name is spelled Astraea. According to myth or legend, the celestial virgin was one of the last immortals, gods or goddesses, to cohabitate with humans during the first golden age. And she abandoned the earth during the Iron Age, seeing the wickedness and the inflation of ego of humanity as they begin to fight and wage war with each other. She decided to leave, ascend to heaven, and become the constellation Virgo. Typically, you'll see her associated with the ninth major arcana or trump card, the Hermit. The Hermit being one to gather and carry wisdom, carry the light of illumination or enlightenment, but oftentimes being shielded and walking alone. It is said that she will one day come back to Earth, bringing the return of the utopian golden age that many people are looking forward to. You hear a lot of talk about this age of ascension and this age of enlightenment. So when you see an individual whose sun sign is in Virgo, we already described some of their traits of being loyal and analytical, having a value for knowledge, but they also will have a very keen attention to detail, very small detail. They'll have a sense of humanity and servitude to humankind and the earth. They'll have a large love and compassion for animals, be very health oriented. You know, this is the balance being the mutable earth sign between Taurus and Capricorn. So Virgos will have a strong character, but generally prefer being more conservative and withdrawn, well organized and stable. You know, even their goals and aspirations, the dreams that they have for themselves, will have very defined boundaries, having a bit of worry or animosity that they might miss a detail or overlook something which will prevent them from getting to that goal. You know, keep in mind that in the story originally discussed as the mythology of Virgo, the goddess left humankind in disappointment and grief and agony because she saw the world around her and what it was becoming. So this is something that Sun Virgos should also watch for, not becoming so invested that when things don't go the way they think they should or they want to or are not in alignment with their beliefs, that they get downtrodden and try to escape or flee. Instead, it's best to stay in that and try to find a resolution or separate if there is none, not just because things aren't lining up with their nature. In life, sometimes it's important to push through those things in order to acquire and attain the lessons that we need to attain. So, an individual with their moon in Virgo, the moon being the planet that describes our emotional states, our instinctive states, ruling that subconscious or unconscious part of the brain, a lot of the background movement that really makes us who we are. The moon being in Virgo will have a very practical, systematic way of looking at things. That reliance or necessity for structure that we previously discussed is going to be amplified here, not just in their daily operations, but this penetrating into their emotional body. So keeping the emotions in check is going to be very big here. A person that has their moon in Virgo will also have a tendency to want to try to improve, fix, refine any circumstances around them. Circumstances, people, anything that they're involved in, they will want to make better. Being that Virgo is a sign of service, um, the people with their moon in Virgo will not only want to service on a physical, tangible level, but also on an emotional and supportive level for individuals as well. These individuals will be quite happy working behind the scenes, not liking the limelight and a lot of attention, and having more of a humble nature. Lunar Virgos are going to play big roles, but be quiet in doing so, remaining humble and out of that direct, attentive light. The satisfaction of their job comes in knowing that they did something well, not in the praise that another person does for them necessarily. Something that Lunar Virgo should watch for, though, is the tendency to be taken advantage of. People, especially more selfish people, have a keen eye for individuals that have a love for service and will oftentimes try to take advantage of that. Astrologers, way back when, used to associate Virgo with a sign of slavery or service. So it's very important that although you may need to serve and have an innate need to serve, do not allow yourself to be a doormat either. Mercury in Virgo, we know that Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, and Mercury rules our communication. An individual with their Mercury in Virgo are extraordinarily expressive and communicative. Again, they'll have that high drive and that high desire for the attainment of knowledge, acquiring more light, becoming more enlightened. Again, there will be a necessity for a systematic way of sorting things. In this case, particularly because there's so much going on in the intuitive, logical facet of the self, that when that starts to go out of whack, it can be a little bit mind-boggling. So they're very well organized, very good at planning things, very good at having the short-term sight and the long-term sight to kind of route their lives in a way that they can be very successful. These people aren't just big picture oriented, they're very detail oriented. They don't just want to cross the bridge, they want to know how it's made first. Venus, who rules our more intimate, relative selves. Venus, who rules our more intimate, passionate selves, our love aspects and the emotions that we bring forth. A person with their Venus in Virgo may not be very flirtatious. Virgo having that more withdrawn quality, although they are very loving, they may not be very demonstrative with their affections. They will always have a willingness to work on and work through things in their relationships and make a relationship work. But unlike Venus and other signs, such as Leo and Sagittarius, they're not going to try to impress you with grandiose displays. They'll be more on the aspect of loyalty and devotion, paying close attention to the details about you as a person. They are more sensitive and compassionate, but again, reserved. And because of that reservation, certain individuals with their Venus and other signs may not mesh well with these kinds of people, especially people who need more of the hands-on displays of affection. People with their Venus and Virgo are going to be good listeners. They're going to be very receptive to the emotions of others. They may have a tendency to criticize a little bit and try to critique, try to show another individual where they could improve something within themselves personally or with their relationships with others, and can sometimes come off as being naggy or critical in doing so. So I think it's really important that these individuals find a unique way of communicating their thoughts about other people in a healthy way so that other individuals don't necessarily take things so personally. People with Venus and Virgo will do a lot of little things. They will always be working. They will always be trying to do things to improve their lives and the lives of those around them out of genuine love. And they do need some appreciation for it, but please note that they also do need their space. Mars being a sign of forward-moving action and drive, individuals with their Mars in Virgo can be very busy people, very practical people, very driven people, but sometimes a little bit scattered, simply because their energy will be going in so many places that sometimes they get lost. People with their Mars in Virgo like to get things done, and they like to do them well. They're not generally aggressive people, but they can be a little bit stubborn. Keep in mind again that Virgo is an earth sign. They will very rarely have to resort to pushing their opinions on others they don't want to. These individuals will be protective about their thoughts and their opinions and their emotions and their systems for getting things done. They are humble, but they will be defensive over what they believe works and what they believe is right. Jupiter being the great expander, one of the quote-unquote luck signs, an individual with Jupiter in Virgo will be the luckiest when they are helpful, when they are doing something for another person, when they're honest with themselves and others, and when they're being practical. Service industries will be great for these individuals, especially those in the areas of health and nutrition. These individuals won't be much for taking risks. They'll need direction, clear goals, well-defined plans that they can receive tangible results from. Individuals with their Saturn in Virgo are going to be very practical and very down to earth. Saturn is the planet of rule, law, order, and boundaries. So combine this with the already discussed and known nature of Virgo, and you'll get a pretty good picture of what you're going to be working with here. These are going to be individuals that are more serious, they're very hardworking, very good at researching, having very good discipline for areas of study and learning things. They'll be very cautious and conservative, planning for the future. They may be a little bit self-critical, a little bit hard with their own personal opinions. Again, they're going to prefer to work behind the scenes, not liking a lot of attention for what they are doing, just as long as they know that they are doing well. They may have a couple of phobias or a couple of obsessive traits. So this is something to be careful of or take note of. When a person with their Saturn in Virgo loses the big picture of why they're doing something, they'll oftentimes get discouraged and get frustrated. They'll have some anxiety if they feel like they're losing control of themselves or their environment. But they are overall very respectable, have many talents that are very good for making the world around them a better place. These individuals really need to be careful of what they do and do not apply their energy to. A person with their Uranus in Virgo will, again, have the big ideas, have the desire for knowledge and insight, but these people are going to be a little bit more original and out of the box. Uranus has a tendency to break some of those barriers and begin to usher us into those higher planes of thinking. So applying that facet of Virgo, the knowledge and desire to do things that benefit their environments in conjunction with the Uranus approach, you're going to see a lot of new ways of doing things and new inventive, creative approaches to how to tackle some issues. They may be a little bit prone to some health issues. And you'll see a lot of people who are hypochondriacs having their Uranus and Virgo. Keep in mind that the universe that we live in is a mental construct. So Uranus leading us into those higher planes of thinking, and Virgo being so concerned with their health, that health being on the mind and that mind being scattered can lead to a couple of different rabbit holes that you may not want to go down. Individuals with their Uranus and Virgo would be great in government or the public eye. They kind of have that opposite nature of the traditional Virgo where they don't like the limelight. These individuals would be really, really good being a public figure. Always being interested in new techniques and new approaches for health, for environment, for agriculture. These individuals could really go far applying those skills and those traits to that type of an avenue. Just as easily, they could be teachers, they could be engineers, they could be CEOs in companies. People with their Uranus and Virgo could really have a great approach to leadership in general. These individuals should tap into the healing powers of nature, having a symbiotic relationship rather than a parasitic relationship, which is kind of the mentality of most of humanity, sucking the earth dry rather than giving back to it and using it for the good resource of health and medicine that it is. Individuals with their Neptune in Virgo, Neptune being more interested in the world at large, Virgo being a health and nutrition sign, these individuals will have a desire to heal the sick, feed the hungry, really provide and really sow a lot of good seeds, bringing love and light to the world around them at large. Neptune Virgos will have a great care for their friends, their family, their home. Having that security around them is going to be very important. Most won't prefer solitude, however, you always have the oddball. These individuals really want to be surrounded with that loving energy. The natural world is going to take a very high importance to individuals with their Neptune and Virgo, and they will have a inner mission to really overcome negativity at large. They understand that that type of vibration can be the cause, the root of a lot of ailment, dysfunction, and disease. So in diffusing that negativity, they know that in doing so, they will be diffusing a lot of other issues along with it. Individuals with their Neptune and Virgo also are known for being inspirers, having the gifts of prophecy, being very spiritual individuals. They'll have a strong sense of right and wrong, a strict code of ethics that they conduct themselves with. Their moral judgment and their moral character is going to be held on a very high standard. And individuals with their Pluto and Virgo, now these are individuals that were born between 1956 and 1972. And a lot of these traits will be finding it difficult to leave things alone. If they feel like they can improve upon it, they won't really let go of it. They're very inventive and original, looking for new ways to approach things and do things, especially through communication and literature. Organization skills will probably be a little bit higher. Now, note that these individuals, because of their gifts of analysis, can be a little bit critical, but fear criticism from other people. So it's important to kind of watch for that and not take constructive criticisms personally. Security is going to be very important for these individuals. In my personal line of work, I work with a lot of individuals from this specific generation, and I hear a lot of them talking about saving for their retirement and loading away the nest egg and things of that nature. So even looking 20, 30 years out, these individuals are already planning ahead, wanting that security to be able to live out the rest of their life. So Pluto, Virgos will want to feel the security. They will want to be able to be free to think independently. They would be great in healthcare, just like Virgo anywhere else. But in this case, they're willing to sacrifice their own desires and their own wants for the service of the people around them. I want to thank you for joining with me today. at the Academy of the Magical Art. And until next time, blessed be.